Okay. Share screen. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hope everybody's doing well. I can't believe it's almost the end of the fall semester already. It's going pretty fast. So tonight I want to talk to you about what you can expect for your qualifying exam, which is on December the 10th. So the format is, it is problems of practice questions. So you will get 4 on November the 10th. I will send you 4 problems of practice questions that have been randomly selected for you. So when I talk about random, what happens is the faculty all submit their questions. They set 2 sets of questions. One is for pre-K-12 and one's for community college higher education. I take the set from pre-K-12, and out of all the questions that are submitted, I randomly draw 4. And then for community college, I put them in a pot and I randomly draw 4 of those. Okay. So then you get those 4 questions on November the 10th. So you have a month to study those 4 questions. On the day that you come to take the exam, I will have randomly selected for each one of you 3 of those questions. So you will, some of you might have the same questions, but they're going to be randomly selected for each of you. Out of the 4 that you were given, I will randomly select 3. I've actually put them in a hat. I put them in a bowl and pull them out for each student. So they're definitely randomly selected. I type up those exam questions, so you will get an individual exam sheet for each person with your 3 questions on it. Okay. So, and there are problems of practice related to your core courses. So there shouldn't be anything on there that you shouldn't have discussed in class or shouldn't be able to answer because of the material that's been covered in those courses. Okay. So that's that's the format. So you come in to the room. The room hasn't been verified yet. Catherine's working on that next week, and we will send you the room number. And actually there's 2 rooms and there's 2 proctors. Usually Enrique and I, each one proctor 1 room. And so you will be in those 2 rooms. There is no internet on the computers. So you will have 3.5 hours to address those 4 questions, 3 questions. And I will, both Enrique and I will keep track on the board how many hours you have left, and we'll announce it like you have 2 hours left, you have 1 hour left, so that you have an idea, of how much longer you have to go. You can't not take any materials with you, no iPhones, no portable computers, no papers, nothing. If you need to have a snack or a drink or something like that, you're welcome to bring that. But everything else, your purses, your backpacks, anything you bring has to stay up at the front of the room. And your iPhones and things we put in a basket. You have to, if you bring them in, you have to put them in a basket in the front. We'll give you more instructions on the day of the exam. I have a written sheet of instructions so that you don't have to remember all this because you'll be nervous that day. I will have a written sheet of instructions for you, and you can, have them right in front of you. What I suggest you study, how you study, is study groups are very impactful, but you have to be careful. You can't have the same answers because it will look like you're cheating. So as much as you study together, you cannot formulate your answers that you're going to put on the exam. You can discuss in broad terms what might be, a good answer to the question, but as a study group, if you, outline what's your answer is going to be, and 2 or more of you have the same answer, you're going to fail. So don't do that. Make sure it's your answers.
You're going to be given the scenarios, And so the scenarios are very broad, but of course your responses have to be unique in the details. So it'll be obvious if not that you can't
Have similarities.
yeah, you don't want to, you want to commit just the general stuff to memory, but the details, they have to be different details, the way people respond to the prompt.
And, you know, you should be able to do some citations if you've had textbooks and if you've read things. So, you know, for each question, you should be able to cite some of the readings that you've read to back up your answers. So it's not just like off the cuff, this is what I do. It's based on what you've learned in class. So you'll need to have some citations for what you've read.
Here's a good time for you to go back and review your notes, review summaries of your readings, and see how that relates to the prompt question.
Right. One of the things, and I'll probably say this again when we are there for the exam, you know, one of the things to help get you organized is to take each question, and before you actually start typing, or you can type it, it's do sort of a bullet outline of what you propose to answer in your question, so that, you know, and do all three of them. So if you run out of time, at least you've got some bullet points that can help remind you of what to write. I think that's been real helpful for people to, you know, before you actually answer all the questions, or one by one, to actually, and we will give you a blue book. So if you don't want to type it, you can write it on your blue book, but we will collect the blue books when you're done. Okay. How it's graded. So at the end of the session, Enrique and I will go around and we will take a thumb drive and we will copy your answers on a thumb drive. And we do it on 2 different thumb drives, just in case we don't want to lose one. We don't, you know, in case one gets corrupted or something. So we'll have it twice, and then we delete it off the computer so it doesn't stay on that computer. You'll hand in everything. You'll hand in the blue books and your questions and everything that we give you in an envelope, and you can leave. And you can leave when you're finished. You don't have to stay the whole 3.5 hours. If you get finished before 3.5 hours, you're welcome to leave. Enrique and I will be there for the whole 3 hours. The grading, I go through all the papers and I take your names off. I assign you random numbers, and then I send them to 2 faculty members who are familiar with that discipline. One of them is one of your faculty members who's taught the course, and then somebody else. And it's blind, so they have no idea whose paper they're reading. And the 2 people read it. And the scoring system is 0, did not meet standards, 1, met standards, 2, exceeded standards. On both of the instructors that are grading, you have to get a 1 or a 2. So you have to have 2 passing grades. If you get a 0 from somebody, I'll have a 3rd reader read it. And we'll see whether, and if you get 2 zeros, you don't pass. You'll have to retake that section. Okay. So you have to get a 1, either a 1 and a 2, or 2 1s or 2 2s. If you get 1 0, I have a 3rd reader read it to see if it's a 0 or a 1 or a 2. And then that will decide whether you pass or not.
And when the evaluators are reading, they have we have standardized
A rubric.
Sorry, my dogs are fighting. They have rubrics, but also they're reviewed blind review, so we don't know who's writing it.
And we do have rubrics. So when the faculty design the questions, they design a rubrics to go with it. But we can't give them to you because the answer's on them, right? Somebody asked me last year, can we have the rubrics? No, you can't have the rubrics because the rubrics have the answers. So, but that's to assure you that there is some validation and validity about between rater interreliability. Okay. Any questions so far? We're good? All right, so then I send them out to faculty, and it takes usually 2 to 3 weeks for them to get them all read and the scores back to me. And then I will send you an email with your with congratulations, you passed, you know, and now you need to advance to candidacy. If you don't pass, we'll have a separate conversation about that. If you need to retake the exam, you can set up a meeting with the faculty members and ask them, you know, talk about what your answer was weak in, what it didn't, you know, what were you missing in those answers. And then you can retake that a question. It won't be the same question, but it'll be a similar question in the same discipline, but not the same question. And you will not get it ahead of time to study. And you need to take it within, I think it's 60 days of finding out that you didn't pass. So that gives you a lot of time to, you know, meet with the instructor, find out where you were weak, you know, where your opportunities are for improvement, and then to retake it. Cohort 14 took it, everybody passed it, all parts of it. So, and you might, if you know somebody in cohort 14, you might want to talk to them and ask if they have any suggestions for you. But I'm kind of been doing this for a long time. So this is what I've been hearing from everybody. And then if you pass, then you advance to candidacy and you can move on. And we're going to have your first dissertation seminar at the end of this semester. So, and we will try to get you matched up with a faculty member. We'll have a meet the faculty session and we'll get you matched up with the potential chair before the end of the semester. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Just wanted you to kind of, we want to reduce the stress level here by giving you the, you know, the information about what it's going to be like and what to expect. So if you have questions, now's the time to ask.
Yeah, any questions or anything needs to be retreated? Oh, repeat, Lisa?
Just to confirm, we will not be getting a question from Mr. Bronak.
No, you will not.
Thank you.
And I'm guessing, or I'm asking, these are going to be more like a case study type of question scenarios.
It's pretty much like a case study question. Yeah.
Yeah, case study.
Yeah.
It describes a scenario and then you respond, but you have to indicate what that you've learned something in that course. So go back and, you know, read your notes and refamiliarize yourself with the lectures and the notes for that class. And provided you reflect the material in that course, then you should be fine.
It really is not that hard. And cohort 14, we talked to them after they took the exam, and they actually said they felt really good about the exam, and they liked it because it made them realize that they could address real life problems. They could take what they learned and address the problem. And so they actually were very positive about the exam.
Joanne has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Brown-Walty. So the first dissertation seminar that you mentioned a few minutes ago, you said that's at the end of this semester. And also, is that for, what if we have already established our chairs?
Well, that's great.
Okay,
That's
so
perfect.
for the ones that haven't.
Right. The dissertation seminar is to talk about what goes in the first 3 chapters.
Okay.
So that you can start working on it.
Okay.
So we're going to do a meet the faculty too, so that you can meet some faculty perhaps that you haven't had in class. So you get a chance, and they will talk about their areas of research. We don't want you to worry about that right now. That's just too much information overload. We want you to just focus on the qualifying exam right now.
That's
But
fine.
you know, that's kind of a look at what's coming, and we will get right on that as soon as
Something
as soon as we
in
get
mind is that you may have already your dissertation committee in, and you've talked to them, but it's not official until the paperwork is done. So we want you to attend the dissertation seminar, and then there's certain parameters, like for example, not any faculty can be your chair. They have to be a core of our program, right? And then there's also certain parameters for your third reader, the one that's the outside reader. So we'll describe those things in detail. And so we've had situations where students thought everything was clear, but then when we got to doing the paperwork, there was maybe some issue or something. So anyways, just because you have the idea, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, come to it regardless of whether you have, you know, already people in mind.
Got it. Thank you.
There was a question in the chat, and I've answered. It says, since we won't have access to the internet, will you be expecting us to mention authors, scholars who work we're referring to, or is it the expectation to actually use full APA citations? You just need to be able to cite the authors and the date. It doesn't have to be the full, you know, citation, but author and date. Authors and date.
So I'm so sorry, my voice is awful. I totally missed the very beginning of this. Something that, what to bring and what not to bring, if someone could like repeat that part, because I don't want to come in with anything that I'm not supposed to.
Yeah. You're not permitted to have tablets or laptops or iPhones. If you bring them, they have to be left up front. If you have a backpack and purses, they all have to be left up front. So you can't have anything at your desk except the exam packet, which includes the exam and a blue book. That's it. And you won't have access to the internet. So you'll just have a Word document that you type your responses on. And every hour or so, Enrique and I will chime like a bell and tell you how much time you have left.
Last year, I remember I was doing it by the hour and then by the half hour.
Yeah.
By the
15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Get ready to close it. But a lot of people were finished before the 3.5 hours. So I think if you do the kind of outline, you know, to start with on the blue book for each question and kind of make an outline of things you want to talk about in your answer, that kind of helps you kind of format what you're going to answer in your when you're writing the answers.
There's a question.
Okay, I can't say, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sharif.
Yeah.
Yes, I just want to ask, how many pages are each question supposed to, or each case, or is it really up to us?
There's not really any specific number of pages. If you answer, it needs to be complete. You know, it needs to be, you know, you need to spend time and answer each question very explicitly. It's 2 to 3 pages, 3 to 4 pages. I've seen them all different lengths. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have enough time to get to that last question. You know, I mean, and the very first time I gave this, people only had like a half hour, 45 minutes to do the last question because they weren't doing their timing. So that's when we started doing the timing. So you have some ideas
Yeah,
about,
makes sense.
but you want a complete, thorough answer.
Yeah, I think the way Dr. Brown-Welty described is a good strategy. If I were in your position, I would approach it like that. So, okay, I have 3 scenarios and sorry, my dog's here. I have 3 scenarios, and then exactly what she described is write your bullet points or your outline, and then go back and answer the basics of each 3. And then with the time you have left over, hopefully you have time left over, you can go back and further develop and embellish. But
And read. They do look for grammar and spelling and stuff like that. So you're going to want to, you know, make it reasonable.
do your standard spell check and your other
Right.
stuff.
Enrique, do you know, is Dr. Sparks, is she a core faculty? I think Shannon is a core faculty, isn't she?
I'm not sure, but we can check. If you send an email to us,
Yeah, send me an email and I'll
send
check
an
the
email
list.
to us.
Yeah, Barbara, send me an email and I'll check the
Yeah,
list.
because we have like more than 40, 50 names, so it's hard for us to keep track in our mind what the different levels they are.
I think she is, but I'm not quite sure. I don't, not 100% sure.
Yeah, and sometimes if, of course, we're going to talk about this in the future, but if the person is not a core, let's say the only affiliate, then we can see about the person converting into a core. They have to go through it like a screening or a vetting process through our faculty, and then we can bring the person up to be a core faculty. But part of being a core faculty means that you have experience and willingness to work with students during their dissertation process. Because we have instructors, faculty who they just want to teach and and help in general ways, but not all of them want to necessarily be the chair or the first reader on dissertation on committees. So if the person shows a willingness, we can work with Dr. Sparks if she's not, but you know, it's a case-by-case scenario.
So just real quick for clarification, we're just gonna enter a room with a bunch of computers and that's what we're gonna type it on, right?
Type it
Yeah.
on.
So we don't type it on. So we don't just come with, we just show up, period. That's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Show up, yeah. And I'm sorry, Sharon, to interrupt you.
Go
But
ahead, no.
if you come in with something, you just leave it at the front.
And you can leave. If you need to use the restroom or take a break. You can't, no more than one person out of the room at a time. And there is a log that you have to log out and log back in. And, oh, important, you might need to tell a couple people left. You need to bring your driver's license with you or some photo ID. I'll remind you, I'll send that out. You need a photo ID.
And even though, of course, we know you, we have to follow certain protocol because it's part of the audit for our program. So we have to follow the protocol as if we don't even, we'll pretend we don't know who you are and go through the procedure and the protocols.
And you can bring your student ID too, if you have a student ID. You know, some picture ID is fine.
No more questions?
Okay, well, November the 10th, you will get the questions. And then it's for a month, study. And then we will see you on December 10th, but you will get another set of emails from us. We will stay in touch. We will tell you what room, remind you to bring photo ID. We'll remind you of all this stuff. So you don't have to, think about it all the time.
I myself, I can't speak for other faculty, but I myself am open to, let's say, you all say, hey, Dr. Murillo, can we Zoom in for half an hour one day? And I can maybe give you some pointers and indicate a couple things here and there. Of course, I can't share the detailed level, but if you need to bounce off ideas or just for your own self-assurance, I'm available for that. And perhaps maybe other faculty would be as well.
Good.
I know Dr. Simbera said she was gonna hold something too.
There you go.
Good. So it depends, you might not get her question. I mean, it depends on what questions you get. And you will know, I will have at the top of them what course it's from. So you'll know what course the question comes from.
Yeah, but you prepare for all 4 questions, but you're gonna get 3 on the day of.
Great. Well, it was good seeing all of you.
All righty.
So we'll see you for sure in a month.
Let's do this, cohort 15.
I'll do it.
Let's do this, y'all.
Yeah,
Do
y'all get it
it.
all done.
Go.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, have a
All
good
right,
evening.
bye.
Good night.
Okay, you can press the stop record.
Okay.
Austin, did you have a question?
Nope, there we go. Are we sure? Yes.